Right now, the Petraeus affair just won't go away, seemingly taking more and more people down with it. This week, supposed to be a victory lap for the president. Instead, he's got to deal with the distraction defending his Justice Department in the wake of a sex scandal and his State Department on its handling of Benghazi. We'll have his explosive comments today. And later, the looming fiscal cliff. Both sides staking out their territory in this game of change. Who gives in first? Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French and thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday evening, November 14th. A lot to cover over the next 60 minutes, including the unfolding Petraeus scandal, a defiant president talking mandates, and a looming fiscal cliff. But we begin with a simmering frustration over continuing power outages and housing shortages left in Sandy's wake.
I hope somebody can take over, take control, and just reorganize the whole organization.
Half of my street is lit and the other half isn't. So something has to be done, I guess, right?
Just a snapshot of the frustrations around our region. Those Long Island residents reacting to the news that Mike Hervey, the chief operating officer of LIPA, Long Island Power Authority, has resigned effective at the end of the year. Now, Hervey's faced harsh criticism in the wake of the power company's uncoordinated response, to put it politely, to Sandy. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has lobbed especially harsh criticism at LIPA and announced Tuesday the formation of a commission to investigate LIPA and all of the region's utilities.
LIPA did not work for many, many years. It was fatally flawed. It was without function. I believe LIPA has been beyond repair for a long, long time.
Now, as of yesterday, LIPA said it expected to restore service to most of its customers who are able to receive electricity, but more than 84,000 homes and businesses in New York and New Jersey will stay dark because of flood damage all these many days after the storm. In its height, Sandy knocked out power to about 8.5 million customers, but customers, they appear to have gotten the worst of it. When you take Sandy and the nor'easter combined, they knocked out more homes and businesses on Long Island than LIPA has customers. Now, housing, it poses another serious issue. Some even say a humanitarian crisis given the calendar. Official estimates of how many people were driven from their homes because of Sandy vary from about 10,000 to 40,000. But most people put that number somewhere between the middle to the high end. Suggestions of what to do with these displaced people, it varies as well. A former prison on Staten Island reportedly being considered as a temporary housing solution. In other parts of New York City, officials trying to assemble a pool of vacant apartments in the 5 boroughs that could supplement the city's shelter system. And over in New Jersey at Fort Monmouth, a former military base is being considered as a temporary solution. Additionally, FEMA has activated its Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program for New York and New Jersey. Now, the program allows survivors who can't return to their homes to stay in participating hotels or motels until more suitable housing is available. And joining us now to explain that program and much more about what FEMA is doing to help put the region back together, Mike Byrne, FEMA Federal Coordinating Officer, and he's on the ground in Bethpage, New York. He's kind enough to give us a few minutes. Mike, thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me on, Rich.
All right. Well, first off, you got put some numbers to this because it seems to be obviously a moving target depending on the day that you're asked. How many people have come to FEMA for help and how many people are looking for housing from you guys?
Right at this point in time, we have 190,000 families that have applied for FEMA assistance, but we want more people to apply. We want everyone who has received damage by the storm, and to do that, they need to call 1-800-621-3362. Now, we've also given out assistance. We're up to about $390 million that we've put on the street, in people's bank accounts so that they can start the recovery process.
Now, Mike, you know the problem. Last night we articulated this. We showed about how in one New Jersey community they're talking about turning a military army base here into make the barracks open for it. People in Staten Island are talking about using a former correctional facility to house people. I mean, you've got creative ideas, albeit, but it almost borders on the desperate. Is the problem that you guys have around here among the challenges, you don't have that much housing that you can just turn into temporary, let alone long-term for these folks?
Rich, you're absolutely correct. But to address that, we've announced today a new program we're calling STEP. It's Sheltering and a Temporary Essential Power. And what this is a recognition. First and foremost, it was a recognition on our part, working with the leadership of the counties and the state, and at their, driving us to try to explore new possibilities, new ways of doing it. We're doing what is an unprecedented step for FEMA in providing temporary shelter for families that were impacted by the storm. This STEP program recognizes that the rental, available rental properties is not there. The available hotel space is not there. This is a very, unique environment compared to other places that we do disaster work and that I've done disaster work. But coming from New York, this is something that we recognized quickly that we needed to address. So to do that, we've come up with this STEP program. And it's important to recognize this STEP program is to create so that the home, get people back in their homes and providing the essential elements of a shelter so that they can live in their home while they're doing the rest of the repairs.
So again, if I can just clarify, and then you spell it out for me, Mike, the idea that you guys are dealing with, and I went down and I covered Katrina, is a different animal. You don't have a Houston 2 hours away that you got half the city going out to. People want to stay in this region, and you can't just throw trailers up all over the place. So you guys are going to try as best you can to create the current where they lived, if they're not reduced to timber here, to try and make it habitable as much as you can, as fast as you can. Do I have it right?
You got it right on. That was well said.
Okay. So people dial the toll-free number. We put it up there on the screen. Yes. Walk me through the steps. If somebody gets on the phone with a FEMA rep, what are they going to be asked? What do they need to tell them?
Okay, well, the normal FEMA process is applying, letting them know what the damage it was. We'll send our inspector out there to inspect them. And I want to differentiate between this new emergency step that we're taking, because we believe that because of the weather conditions, that people's lives are at risk, that certainly their health and their safety is at risk. And that's why we've been able to take this additional measure. The regular FEMA program, the program called the Individual and Household Program, is still available to them. They need to apply to that, and they need to let us know that they're unable to be in their house so that we can then add them to the inspection and to the assessment so that we can apply this new measure of helping to get the power back to their house, do basic repairs to cover any openings in the house so that they can get in there, be warm, be safe, while they use the rest of their FEMA money or their insurance money or their assistance of a voluntary agency to do the rest of the repairs. Okay,
set expectations for the audience here. What is the new normal? We keep hearing about that. What should people expect? I mean, you guys are you're fighting the clock here. It's getting real cold real fast, and you got a lot of people who think they can ride this thing out, and frankly, they can't. Explain to people, it's not going to be perfect, but if everything breaks right for you guys, what your expectation is a week from now, a month from now, before the end of this calendar year.
Well, we're mobilizing, and it's not just FEMA. The state and the counties are also mobilizing, local contractors. Our goal is, and we're committed to using as many local resources and local contractors that we can to get them to do these emergency repairs. But in addition to that, we've also are in the process of letting our contracts, FEMA technical assistance contractors, that will add to the fight to get full mobilization, and we'll coordinate it with the counties and with the city to go where they want us to go, so that it's everybody's in the fight on this one. In the past, in other communities, like you said, Katrina, New Yorkers went down and helped out. New Yorkers went down and helped rebuild the homes in the 9th Ward and in St. Bernard Parish and in Plaquemines Parish. Well, now it's the rest of the country's turn to come here to New York and for us to get those contractors, in here so that we can do this emergency repair. There's still going to be plenty of work to do after that, but we got to move fast.
Mike, is there confusion on the ground level? I spoke to mayors yesterday, and they weren't sure if they were dealing with county officials, state officials, the feds, i.e. FEMA. Has it been streamlined enough that everybody should know who's talking to who?
You know, we do a lot of coordination. I have, you know, people on the street. You know, we do daily calls with the local officials and with congressional officials so that they're aware of what we're doing. Hey, but you know, we almost can never do enough. We'll do more. We'll do more outreach. I have people, I have over 1,200 community relations staff that go door to door in communities that were impacted by the storm. But if that's not enough, you know, first and foremost, I got to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about the program so that we can reach a wider audience, because we need to get everybody on the same page. We need everybody to understand what it is we can do and to be honest and respectful of what we can't do.
Mike, with the exception of banging on LIPA to try and get their act together, what can I do to help in that? Who's standing in the way of you guys making this process get even expedited further? Do you have all the resources you need, whether it be dollars, boots on the ground? What do you not have that you need to get people a roof over their heads before we hit December?
You know, as far as the money, we've got the funding. Congress has been great. They fully funded FEMA last year, so we're in a position where FEMA can execute. You know, money is not a limiting factor in this environment. As to the other, you know, possible limiting factors, you know, time will tell. You know, we're going to be aggressive. You know, I've talked to a lot of contractors. The county executives and the city has talked to a lot of contractors. They're mobilizing. They're bringing the resources in, but we're going to monitor it. We're going to watch. We're going to make sure we get results, and if we don't get results, we're going to find other resources and other ways to get it done. You know, failure is not an option on this one.
Last thing, I remember you guys were saying, along with the governors, that there were going to be these 30 locations that you'd have basically one-stop shopping. A representative from FEMA, you're going to have somebody from housing that was going to be there, insurance that was going to be there, to streamline the process. Are those 30 hubs in effect in our region already on the ground? Are they operating?
You know, I visited one yesterday in Lindenhurst. It's really, you know, it's a comfortable place to go for people who have questions and want to know what's available to them. Because, you know, this is a whole community approach. It's not just FEMA. And we're here with partnerships with the state agencies, other federal agencies, voluntary, nonprofits, and also community resources in terms of, you know, I was in Howard Beach, Broad Channel actually this morning, where a local restaurant was serving breakfast to the people. Somebody who used to live in the area that lives in San Diego set up a foundation. He's clearing out houses for people and doing, you know, the kinds of things that, you know, they're coming back to the community because they know this is going to take all hands. They know this is going to take you know, everybody to come to the fight to get it done. There's just too many people that we have to take care
of. Mike, are you a local guy? Are you from around this neck of the woods?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Yorkville, East Harlem area of Manhattan. My family's still there, and I was a New York City firefighter for 20 years before I joined FEMA.
So obviously this isn't a spot on the map to you. You know these places. You've been on the ground, I know. What's some of the sites you've seen that's making it tough going to sleep at night here, knowing where we are in the calendar and hearing some of these people speak to you directly? Anything stand out to you?
You know, well, it's hard to pick one place, I got to tell you. It's, you know, I can go from, you know, the devastation of the fire in Breezy Point, you know, the lack of, you know, the power outages in Far Rockaway, going to Gerritsen Beach. You know, when I was a fireman, I worked a little north of there. I worked in Brownsville East, New York, as a firefighter. You know, going to some of those communities. I was in Canarsie last night at a town hall meeting. You know, I mean, I could go on and on. You know, this is a tough one. This one, I got to tell you, I've done a lot of disasters. This one humbled me, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to work hard and we're not going to get through it and we're not going to get things done.
And again, that toll-free number we got up on the screen, Mike, is the best way for people to let FEMA know they need help, right?
Absolutely, and also you know, they can go online. You know, in fact, more than half of the people who have applied to FEMA assistance have gone online, and the website for that is disasterassistance.gov.
Mike Byrne, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Rich. Thanks.
All right. we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to turn our eyes to Washington. A lot of headlines out of our nation's capital today, including the widening scandal that's brought D.C. to pretty much a screeching halt here. Stay with us. The telenovela that is the CIA sex scandal right after this.